Alright, Diablo players, are you ready for the infinite damage character in Season 9? Well, on the PTR, you can do this now. So it takes a couple seconds to ramp up, but you can see it does give you infinite damage. When it overflows, it will go into the negative, which will basically delete everything in the game. It is capable of clearing even Pit 100 plus. Obviously, you can just keep on maxing out. You can do the 150 if you wanted to. And now this is with the brand new update with specifically the new boots. But first off, I want to give a shout out to Rob because he's another fellow Diablo partner that I got this idea from after seeing some crazy numbers. I had to try it out myself and I did some variations of it, and I felt like it made it extra tanky because that's an issue with this build that I definitely noticed. Now, first off, I do want to mention that it is a dot build, so it takes a couple seconds for the time for it to ramp up to get the infinite damage. Most of the targets, though, I mean, they'll die before the damage can get to that point. So you may not see the numbers here, but on the bosses, you'll see a lot larger numbers. It's just that if you want to see the big number, you have to go to the training dummy or attack a target that has an invulnerable state like the brand new Astaroth to get the number, because everything else, it can't have the HP required to see the number. So hopefully that makes sense, because I didn't want someone to go in and say, well, my damage is not matching yours. It's because in order to get that damage, the target has to exist. It will be deleted before that happens. So we're doing the brand new Season 9 Nightmare Dungeon Escalations gameplay in the background, and most of the stuff you will one-shot, but it takes, again, it's a dot build, so it takes time for the target to die. But you can pretty much attack most of the targets and then move on. There's just one little tip that I want to give you guys. You don't have to sit there keep on attacking the target because, well, you do enough damage. Anyways, there is a brand new pair of boots that I want to go ahead and mention. This is a huge bonus that we're getting in Season 9. It's one of the brand new uniques. So let's go over this first. So let's go over the new stuff. The Hooves of the Mountain God. Why is it good? It gives us Fury per second, and then when we attack with the basic skill while we're at the maximum Fury, it's going to drain our Fury, and then our basic skills are going to cleave and deal 100x increased damage. It also has Fury per second and a bunch of regen on the Fury per second on the boots, and then you have the basic attack speed, which is great. And then on top of that, there's a couple of newer things that I wanted to go ahead and mention. This is like the new powers here. So the power that we're running is Disintegrate. What's happening is Disintegrate in combination with specifically the Siphoning Gizmo and the Berserk Ripping is exactly what's causing the damage to go crazy. So you have to run Berserk Ripping, and then you have to run the Siphoning Gizmo, and you want to convert it to fire. So that's how we're getting the infinite damage, because this is doing a dot, and then this is consuming the dot, and then Berserk Ripping is considering that direct damage, and then they kind of multiply off of each other. And so as far as the powers go, we're running the Disintegrate one. We want to activate it with, of course, our basic skill Flay. And keep in mind, you don't have to play Flay. You can play any basic skill, but obviously you probably want to select Flay because, well, this is going to give you extra dot damage. But again, you can legitimately play anything. It'll give you infinite damage with any basic skill, or actually, to be honest, it's any skill in the game, but you probably want to do basic because it ramps up faster. We're going to be running the fire one because we're going to be converting our damage anyways with our helmet. And then this is something important that I really liked. The Luminous Gem dazes all of the enemies, and it gives us incredible survivability. This is a big issue with this build because how the build wants to play is you have to hold still, and if there's any AoE and stuff, well, if you move, you kind of lose out on some other buffs. So I really liked having this. It made it way easier. But you must run Siphoning Gizmo. That is the most important thing. The other things that are optional, Luminous Gem, as well as Bottled Wind. Again, this made the build so much smoother for tankiness because maxing out in resistances is a little bit more difficult on the Barbarian, especially with the new season. We have the new gems, which are great for giving us armor and resistances, but, well, it really just helps out, max out those extra sets of survivability that you normally wouldn't get. As far as like the brand new Season 9 gems, this one over here, we're running Tyrant Bane, but to be honest, you can run whatever you want. The only one that I think is really important is the Illuminate Eye. The reason why is it gives us cooldown reduction on our Catalyst, which is essentially how we get our infinite DPS. And so you can actually have multiple of these out when you have the cooldown reduction, which is great. And then there's the Element Brand. So the Cataclysm skill deals 33% of the element. So again, you're proccing that damage, and then it can consume that set. So this one and this one are absolutely like a must. The last one, honestly, you can play whatever. There's one that gives you extra primary stat. I could actually recommend this one too. It's called Idle from Below. Play whatever ones that you want though in this category, but the other two, like, these are a must, and for the other one, Siphoning Gizmo is a must, and the other two, play what you want. So that's basically the new stuff for Season 9. So now that we went over the new stuff, let's go over the build guide. So as far as the skills go, I like Iron Skin again. Survivability is a pretty big issue. I try to get away with running Leap or like Charge, because Charge and like the basic skill, there's a build with that with the other unique gloves. If you want to run it, there is another variant that you can play with Pain Gorgers. It's another fun build, but again, it's a lot squishier, and I probably wouldn't recommend it. So, but I like to give you guys the info there. So, Pain Gorgers is optional if you want to play Charge, but again, you're going to be squishier. Iron Skin is kind of like a must, and then you play Ren to deal your damage. And just like every single Barbarian build, your last 4 slots have been the same pretty much since the earlier iterations of the Barbarian, which is triple Shout and then Wrath of the Berserker. So, Barbarian's been in this state where you get like 1 damage skill, and then like you have like maybe Iron Skin or Leap, and then the rest were exactly the same for every single build. But yeah, it's still good. That's why, you know, it's been standing the test of time. And then for the technique, you can run two-handed axe. It just gives you extra vulnerable and then increased crit strike chance, because you do need crit in this build, even though it's a dot, and the reason why is our key passive kind of interacts with it. But honestly, you can play whatever you want. It's not like super important if you don't reach the 100% crit, but you do want to get 100% crit in the build, as it does tie into another multiplier again. I wrote some notes as far as like the other things, because again, Mobilytics doesn't have it, so I posted this part over here on like D4 builds, but I wrote down all the notes here so you can be good to go. And then as far as it goes, right now, if you want to run the Earthquake rune, you can run the Earthquake rune, and then you can run a bonus damage. Instead of getting even more attack speed, you can get like the Earthquakes to spawn in. But I felt like, again, it made the build a lot squishier, so I decided to go with Q, which gives us the like Bulwark barrier, and I felt like that was way stronger. But that's like the other option that I want to mention really quick. But as far as the gear goes, in the helmet, we're running the Ugly Bast helmet. It gives us Wrath of the Berserker cooldown. It converts our damage into an element, and we want elemental damage because we can scale that much better with the seasonal powers. And then on top of that, it's just overall good. It's like 100x damage. And then we run Rage. So this Trust Armor is really good for critical strike chance, but we actually utilize it for its legendary power. The legendary power is the most important part with this build, otherwise you will not be constantly berserking. Which is pretty important. So before, you can get like crit damage and all these other like bonus damage to close and stuff. Now you don't really need them. You could just stack damage while berserking everywhere. It has the highest like number additive number. And if you're not berserking and you're not in like Wrath of the Berserker form, you do a lot less damage, just as a heads up. So you need to make sure that this rolls as close to 60 as possible. The stats on it don't matter as much. Ideally, you get the critical strike chance, but you can get crit in other departments. But that special power where it says 20 to 60%, that one you want to make sure that it's a high number. And then we run the Fist of Fate because we get to randomly deal out some extra damage, but also that chance to inflict vulnerability, as we do need a source of that in every Diablo build. But it has lucky chance, it's got like a lot of great stats on it overall. And then we play the aspect of Might over here to give us extra damage reduction, although there's an Earthquake one that will give you damage reduction. There's tons of other options here in the pants department if you want to play something else. You can maybe even try to get away with Tibalt if you really want to squeeze out even more damage, because more resource equals more damage for the build. But I think that just getting a regular pair is going to be much better for survivability, as like I mentioned, that is an issue with the build. Ideally on the GA, you can either hit resistances, or even just getting armor on your pair of pants earlier on can be great, or HP instead of armor. If you happen to have a lot of greater affix rolls on specifically strength, then you might not need to get armor in this department, but you do want to armor cap yourself. And then for the boots category, I know it doesn't have any boots here. It's because they don't exist in the planner, but it's Hooves of the Mountain Gods. Ideally on the greater affix, it doesn't really matter too much. The more important thing is that 100x, to be honest. You usually can max out your attack speed pretty easy with this build. Keep in mind, certain things are in category 1 and 2. Rapid is in category 2, so that 70% on a perfect roll will almost cap you out in that category, so it's pretty good because it's on a two-hander. And then as far as the weapons go, in one of the two-handers, we play Moonrise. The more important thing to get in the Masterworking department is the Flay Duration. That's what you want to try to get. And then you also want to put on any of the offensive pieces of gear the damage while Wrath of Berserker is active. That one just has, again, a higher number, and you can see you can upkeep it up 100% of the time. And then we have the Shard of Arathel, so this makes so the basic skills do more damage. Ideally, you can get the max resource, because, again, it's going to give you more damage. Because we also play Ramalandi's Magnum Opus, and when we use this weapon, our damage gets increased per point of fury you have. So ideally, you try to get your fury stacked up as much as possible on this one. And then for our other weapon, we can play Rapid Aspect or the Earthquake one. It's up to you. You can play pretty much anything here. And then again, Flay Duration is what you want to go for. And this one, by the way, you can go over 100%. Unlike some of the other skills that are basic skills, you have like a chance to do double damage, where at 100 you're done. So you only put it on one two-hander and then one-hander to get the 100%. But this one, going beyond it, it does matter because it's just, you can keep on pushing it. For one of the rings, we play the Aspect of Berserk Ripping. This is very important. And then you can put the Wrath of Berserker cooldown reduction. Ideally, on the ring, you can get like resistance to all elements, max life. Like, that's actually really helpful for the build. Again, I try to make the build way more beginner friendly because keep in mind, the gameplay that you guys are seeing is like Paragon 300, which is pretty hard to hit. So realistically, if you get HP in a lot of these areas, it will make the builds feel so much better, because that's the one problem this build has. It does infinite damage, technically right now in the PTR. More than likely, though, just, you know, probably should warn you guys, I would say there's probably a pretty big chance this gets nerfed. But even if it does get nerfed, this is still the brand new Barbarian-like thing, so it's going to be nerfed more than likely. But how bad, I don't know. But if it doesn't change at all, obviously it's the best build in the game. But more than likely, expect to see some nerfs. Probably, it's not going to do infinite damage, but it'll probably do still pretty big damage. Anyways, next up, Starless Skies. You can get anything, Lucky Hit Chance. Just don't get core skills because we don't use a core skill. Any of the things Masterwork or G8 is fine in the build because you can benefit off of Lucky Hit Chance. In fact, you can get GA Lucky Hit Chance, which is great here, and you can also get Lucky Hit Chance to be GA here. And then for our amulet here, Strength is kind of the thing that I really like to have. Again, it really helps out with your armor. If you can get that Greater Affix and then a Masterwork that. You can also get Wrath of Berserker cooldown. You can get regular cooldown. I really like the ranks to Pit Fighter because it gives you damage and damage reduction. There's other multipliers that are, again, bigger in damage, but you have infinite damage. Again, even if they nerf the build, you know, obviously with the infinite damage, the negative numbers, that'll probably change, but you can get more damage, you know, in other areas if you want to. But I really want to say, focus a little bit more on survivability and your gameplay will be a lot smoother. Since we don't really take damage to our HP, we can run Neo Cax over here. That's going to give us extra damage if we want to. There's another suggestion that I wanted to make over here where you can play Vex as well. So if you want damage, Cax is going to give you the most damage overall. It's going to spend all your resource, which you're going to have to regenerate. I would probably actually recommend most people to play Vex, and the reason why is it will upgrade all of your shouts. It will also upgrade your I was about to say steel skin, so Path of Exile, iron skin. It will also upgrade your iron skin, and everything else will be upgraded, your Wrath of Berserker. So I really like Vex for majority of builds. However, Cax, bigger number can ramp up faster. So if you really want to, you can do that. But Lith Q is also very good. The Earthquake one is very good. Again, play the ones that you enjoy. If you feel like you need more DPS, Cax, there's nothing that beats that in terms of numbers. But it does have to have like a short window, and you'll have to time it. But it's 100. It's pretty dang good. As far as the gems go, it really doesn't matter because you're using the brand new gems, but obviously like rubies in your armor. That's the only thing that really matters here that I would say is important. All right, on to the skill tree. So obviously it's a Flay build. We want to get Flay, and we want to get the increased bleeding damage, and then we get the extra fury. We want to get more damage, more fury, and then we get the shout here, which is going to give us more fury generation. We get some damage reduction over here, and then more damage. And then with the iron skin, you could either one is totally fine as far as armor goes. Challenging shout, again, you're getting extra fury, and then with the war cry over here, you're just getting extra bonus damage. If you want to put more points into it, that's totally fine too. Booming voice, skill effect duration is very, very good. You don't really need the regen because I focused the build on generating so much shields, like the barriers, that you don't really need it too much. You'll see, maybe sometimes we'll take a little bit of damage, but like for the most part, it's barrier maxed out, and the build's super smooth because of that. That's why we also play Neo. And then we get damage reduction while berserking. This one is okay. I opt to get even more attack speed. Now, it depends on your rolls on your piece of gear. You can get an additional 9% here, which is actually pretty nice when you're using one-handed weapon. Oh, bonus tip. Make sure that you select that you are using your 2 one-handers for your weapons, as you want as much attack speed as possible, because you have to also use Opus. Otherwise, the Opus doesn't work because it only works attacks with this weapon is the key word. Extra crit chance, extra damage here, just kind of like the stuff that you would expect. Extra damage damage over here as well. We get Wrath of Berserker, and then you get to heal for every 100 Fury you're spent, sometimes in between certain things. This was okay, but to be honest, this is another 3 points that you could 100% absolutely remove. It's just that sometimes when you're degenning, it helps when you're moving from pack to pack. But again, look, let me see that. This is the hardest difficulty. This is the brand new escalations. That was a tier 2, but we're gonna go through all of it. You one-shot everything again. Once you get your damage ramped up. And then we run Gushing Wounds. So Gushing Wounds has actually kind of gotten updated and changed. This used to be like the most OP thing ever, but there's an important thing to mention. So you have a chance equal to your critical strike chance to increase the bleed amount, and it's going to increase it by your 100% of your crit strike damage bonus. So you can get crit strike damage as well, and the most important thing though is that critical strike chance is important. So you can get vulnerable damage, you can get crit damage, you can get any sort of damage in this build except for like damage to distance. That's the only thing that you don't really benefit from in this build. So yeah, you could still get crit, even though normally with like a dot build, you would not really want to scale the crit chance or the multi, but in this, yes, you do. So for starters, we're running Wrath. So again, the skills at crit can generate extra fury, and this is how we get a lot of our crit bonuses here, so it'll really help out. And then with Weapons Master, we get Ambidextrous over here, so we get some more damage. And then we go over to the left, and we get Warbringer with Ire. This gives us extra damage reduction. There's actually 2 damage reduction things that we take. Again, I'm telling you, the build feels a little bit squishy when you're holding still compared to like when I was playing Sorc in the Hydra build. And then we get the Blood Rage with Martial, so this is going to give us bonus damage. You used to have to get like damage while like berserking or damage while close or something to max out this one. Now it's just like you get it for free. They made it so easy now to get like a lot of these bonuses on the Paragon. But yeah, we get Martial, and then the final one over here is going to be the Hemorrhage over here. So our bleeding damage is increased by 15x of our vulnerable, so we do need some vulnerable damage, but you do get the vulnerable damage anyways in the build. When you there's like a lot of these like small notes. Here we go, vulnerable damage. So on your character, make sure that this is maxed out, like make sure that this number says X45 because it has a maximum. So make sure that you cap that one out. And then I actually really like Territorial. You can play, is it Challenger or Eliminator, depending on the class that you play. It's the one where it gives you elite damage. That one is a pretty good option. I opted to get the damage reduction. Again, I know I stress this like several times, but like when you start doing some of these dungeon escalations, especially if they do extra damage as X damage as like some other element, because it's a little bit harder to res cap, you have so many uniques in the build, and unless you happen to have like greater affixes on like resistances, like you basically need 2 rolls of resistances, ideally both GA. If both are GA, then the build is like totally fine, but if your like resistances are like, you know, half as what they should be, and you start getting the extra monsters deal damage as another, just like in Path of Exile, it starts to add up if you don't have perfect resistances. And in Diablo, I'm gonna be real, you don't really need max resistances, but with the Nightmare Dungeon escalations, it does get a smidgen harder, especially if you're sitting in AoE, because visual clutter is definitely something that can be annoying because you literally can't see, there's too many things going on, and sometimes you're sitting in AoE and you may not notice it, and that really helps out to have the barrier. And I just, like I said, I try to focus in on making it as tanky as possible, because I just made the Hydra build, and that build you face tank everything, but this build, I now made it so now you can face tank pretty much everything. You might not be able to sit in the Lilith waves, but it's okay. We don't need to sit there farming Lilith. We're doing the new content here. But yeah, have some fun with the build, guys. It pretty much tops out at like 280 for Paragon. The last 20 points, you can put it into Poison Res if you want. There's Lightning Res, but there's really nothing that's important. You don't need Fire Res, by the way. Don't get that, because unless you want to get the max Fire Res, I think there's maybe like a plus max, a couple of 2% nodes for max Fire Res. You don't really need the Fire Res, though. The reason why that you don't need the Fire Res out of all of them is because I believe this has a, yeah, it gives you Fire Res on the implicit here, so you'll be maxed out. But anyways, have some fun with the build, guys. If there's any improvements, let me know down below. But yeah, really fun build. Expect it to get nerfed, but how big is the nerf? I don't know. But at the end of the day, you could play any basic skill with it, but Rend is probably what I would recommend. I'm going to also try to make a Bash build variant, but it's pretty much going to be something where expect the build to not do infinite and negative damage, but expect it to still be slightly good, because otherwise, well, making this is kind of pointless. And also, they had buffed a lot of the basic skills anyways with the update on the base of it, so it might be kind of fun to level up with. And because you get so much free per second, this is a great pair of unique boots just to even play with other builds in the earlier stages of the game. But anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. If you're new here, subscribe to the bell, and I'll catch you gamers in the next video. Have some fun with the build while it lasts, at least with a negative damage number.